Of course, I would be talking about King Magnifico. Whenever anyone talks about King Magnifico, someone inevitably says Disney forgot how to write a good villain. I mean, I can't blame them for saying that. We haven't had a true, straightforward big bad since Mother Gothel and Tangled back in 2011. The likes of Prince Hans or Robert Callahan don't count by virtue of being twist villains first and villains second. I mean, let's talk about the classic Disney villains, such as Ursula, Frollo, or Gaston. The disappointing thing about King Magnifico is that he does have the elements that could make a good villain character. I mean, he's a vain control freak who believes he knows better than anyone else. He believes his subjects exist only to fuel his ego and vanity. Just saying, these traits can be used to describe a number of villains. Dolores Umbridge, for example, uses her position of authority to fuel her own ego, much like King Magnifico. Granted, she makes it so that she can hurt others, while she herself can't be hurt, and it's very cathartic to see her get hurt. Why does King Magnifico suck? Well, let's start with the place that perfectly encapsulates him as a character, his villain song. This Is the Thanks I Get isn't a good villain song. When you have a villain song, it is a nice way for the writers and directors and animators to show off that villain has X motivations, or what kind of evil plan they want to do, or their general modus operandi. Mother Knows Best from Tangled shows off just how manipulative Gothel truly is, and how she really only cares for Rapunzel as another tool. Poor Unfortunate Souls from Little Mermaid, likewise, is all about Ursula manipulating Ariel by putting on this massive show and trying to convince her that she is a reasonable person and that this is a reasonable deal to make. Hellfire from Hunchback of Notre Dame shows off Frollo being consumed by his pride and his inability to take responsibility for his own actions, and ultimately consumed by his lust and deciding to burn Paris to the ground just to satisfy his desires. Be Prepared from Lion King is an evil monologue where Scar is trying to sell his evil plan to the hyena clans. Follow him, help him claim the throne, and they will not go hungry again. They will not be banished out here. Likewise, in the sequel to Lion King, My Lullaby is one giant fantasy from Zira wanting to kill, maim, and destroy everything Simba has. That is effective at being a villain song. What does This Is the Thanks I Get do? Well, it tells us that Magnifico is a vain control freak who knows magic. You know, things that we already know about him. There's no dive into his motivations. There's no villainous manipulations. Hell, this isn't even a montage of him kicking puppies and spitting on babies. He's written as if he's a twist Disney villain. The first part of King Magnifico's characterization early in the film makes him off to be some kind of well-meaning but very egotistical king who doesn't grant wishes that are too dangerous or too absurd or too vague. Then the second half has him go completely mad with power. This isn't a character development thing. This is him basically going in from one characterization to another. If there was something to bridge it better, because heaven knows that this movie tries to bridge the two characterizations, yet no, it's not doing that. There's a simple way to bridge these two characterizations. This song could have just been about Magnifico getting a thrill out of controlling the wishes, which allows him to control a person's heart, or learn about them to better manipulate them. That helps. You can still have the nice king in the forefront, but then you see these cracks in his characterization, and show them to Asha, and then, behind closed doors, he's like this. Doing this paints him as a more common school bully who has grown up and been given a ton of power. That would make the later actions he takes, such as using forbidden magic and being just an overall ass to everyone he sees, even more heinous. You could have him turn into a monstrous godlike being like a Final Fantasy villain if you wanted to. Above all, Wish and Magnifico feels like he was written by two different sets of writers. The first set of writers, or second, it could be either, wanted a 2010s Disney villain approach, where we would have a seemingly reasonable first impression of the character, such as what we did with the scene with him and Asha, where he says, okay, these wishes are too dangerous or too vague to actually grant, so I'm not granting them. That makes sense. And then they set up a twist. And then there's the second set of scripts that says, okay, he's going to be a straightforward bad guy from the moment onward, and then Disney's boardroom of suits decided to merge the two. I'm not sure if we have any evidence of King Magnifico being a twist villain at any given point in his development, but we do have ample evidence where he was a straightforward Disney villain. We have concept art of him and Queen Amaya, of all people, both being evil and both ruling Rosas as if they were a mafia family, which would have been a nice play on the Disney power couple like Aladdin and Jasmine. Oh, and they also had a cat. Again, would have been nice if we had a twist on the old trope of Disney's power couple, except what if we made them evil? But those are just my thoughts on the matter. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.